So there's this little series. It's called One Piece. I kind of like it. It's like greatness, like really greatness. Like, it's a great story. Like, really great. Like, really great. Okay? People, the first glimpse of the next king of the pirates is incoming following Zoro and Sanji's massive war on King and Queen. One Piece chapter 1022. It is getting real in a real major way. This chapter, I almost felt like I read 3 chapters in one, because it was like 3 to 4 different giant events going on all at the same time, and it is just leading more and more foundation to even more and more greatness. We got the battle of Orochi's mans versus Raizo. Forgive me, I'm not great with Orochi's mans' names, but you know, dude with the long ears and shit like that. That dude versus Raizo. Then we got the whole Killer Kid, Big Mom, and Hawkins situation. Then following that one, we got the Sanji, King, Queen, Zoro, like Marco. A lot to digest, a lot to break down of this One Piece greatness. So without further ado, people, I'm not gonna waste your time. Let's jump into a little bit of that One Piece greatness. Let's do it, shall we? Yeah, let's go. No matter how you move, get it done. 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 Okay, people, so I just quickly wanted to cover this because out of everything else that I'm going to be talking about the chapter, it's all going to be praise. But there was one gripe, and it's a me gripe. It's nothing to do with the contents of the chapter itself. The cover page. The cover page was of the Tontatas. It was a request cover page, if I'm not mistaken, that Oda drew. And I don't like the Tontatas. No, I don't like them. I never liked them, to be honest with you. So when I saw that cover page at first, I was like, oh no, don't tell me we're going to be having something on the level of the Tontatas, because I never liked the Tontatas. But yeah, that's more of a me thing. That's more of a personal gripe of some characters that I never really particularly cared for. But thankfully, again, it was just a request cover page, no bearing on the chapter whatsoever. I just had to throw that in there because the rest of this video is just going to be me fangasming and diving deep into that One Piece greatness that we got. Because the chapter opens up with a little bit of a recap yet again, how it started off of 30,000 versus 5,400 on Onigashima versus our people. Like, you know, it was a major war in the beginning, and the tides have shifted dramatically. And then on top of that, Onigashima is 15 minutes away from arriving at the capital, the flower capital. So yeah, it gave us a time period, even though we know, like, you know, go back to 5 minutes on Namek with Frieza and shit. 15 minutes could last a long time. 15 minutes could last a whole other year of chapters if Oda wanted it to. But we jumped straight away into Raizo versus Orochi's keeper, the person that, you know, was holding down Orochi, that he follows straight through for the Shogun. And I ain't gonna lie, I always appreciated Raizo since the beginning, because it always felt like, and to this point still kind of feels like, an homage to Jiraiya from Naruto. Oda was very passionate and supportive of Naruto. I mean, even in case you don't know, back when Naruto ended, Oda was very upset that Naruto didn't get the cover of Jump. He was like, even the greatest, some of the greats out there don't get the honor of that for their final chapter or whatnot. So definitely an homage, in my opinion, with Raizo. And I felt like, man, I'm kind of like watching Jiraiya in One Piece, which is crazy, like one of the best of Naruto in One Piece going up against this dude. And it had a lot of the vibes of it. I mean, he was using shadow clones and all sorts of stuff, so I really liked that aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, this was the least entertaining, I guess you would say, or the least important. No, it was entertaining, least important of the fights that we got in this, of the events for that matter, that we got in the chapter. But it was still a pretty damn decent fight, because again, Raizo's asking like, yo, but how could you serve Orochi? Like, you don't know that fucking musty mouth motherfucker. Like, how sway, how? And basically he tells me, yet again, I serve whoever the Shogun is. My whole ideology and everything that's around is basically the monarchy, in a sense, or the positioning, you know, the way the politics was structured. He don't care who it is. It could be a fucking homeless bum sitting on the goddamn chair. If you're
the Shogun, I'm rocking with you. That's his whole mindset behind it. It's not that he loved Orochi. It's not that, oh my god, Orochi, you're such a great person. No, it's that he's the Shogun. It is what it is, which, I mean, I can respect it to a certain degree. Don't get me wrong, I disagree entirely just because, like, yo, Orochi's a piece of shit. He brought Wano to ruins. You should want to do better. So maybe certain aspects of morality should supersede your wanting to support the Shogun, because again, like, if the Shogun is ruining the land, wouldn't it make more sense, like, okay, they gotta go, fam, like the island, the place is more important than that position. But eventually he does catch Raizo's clones. He catches the real one, and ultimately he starts talking shit to Raizo. You're too emotional for a ninja. And it just brought me back to Naruto, like, how dare you talk about emotional ninjas? Like, have you not read all 700 chapters? If you have not read all 700 chapters, shut up. No. And he was also talking smack to them, like they're following a ghost, yada yada, back and forth. And Raizo's like, we wasn't following, and we're not following his orders. We're following his wishes. We're doing this basically because we want to. And us ghosts here that we are coming to basically put an end to this nightmare. So some of the, you know, kind of dialogue that we've already heard multiple times of, like, you know, they're ghosts and they've come to stop Orochi and this nightmare that Onigashima has put on Wano as a whole. So again, some of the typical stuff that we've heard them say time and time again throughout this arc. But that whole section ends off with basically Raizo saying Momo is going to be the Shogun. And I'm pretty sure once Momo does take the throne, I could imagine a scene where that dude is dying and he's going to congratulate and say, you know, you would have had my support if I was still going to live. But I do think that Raizo is going to take this dude out by the end of this battle. If it's not Raizo, somebody there, he is going to die hands down. And I could see either him being in front of Momo or telling them, like, yo, tell Momo that, like, you know, he would have had my support. Something that I feel like that would be a great cap to his whole ideology of, again, supporting the Shogun. But the battle, we don't get to see the deciding factor yet, because then we transition over to something even more important. And it feels like that's how the whole structure of this chapter was. It was like, least important, pretty damn important, holy shit, this is important, this is huge for the entirety of One Piece. Because we cut over to Hawkins versus Killer, and I ain't gonna lie, I kind of wish we would have seen more of this battle. Like, this battle is an underrated one that, like, if anything, I wish we would have taken over some of those pages of the Raizo fight, which, again, I think the Raizo fight is kind of cool. Like I said, gives me Jiraiya vibes from Naruto, all of that jazz. But this fight right here, I want to see more. And granted, now we're at a very delicate situation of, how the hell do you fight this without killing your mans? Because Hawkins, you know, he plays dirty. He's a dirty dude. He's pretty much a real pirate if you think about it, in terms of, like, he don't give a fuck. He's gonna whatever it takes to get it done, and at the same time with a little bit of cruelty to boot. Because Hawkins is asked how many replacements does he have left, and he replies, not many, but the question is, whose lives are they? Because basically, you know, the whole voodoo dolls that he could create through straw, he only has a few left, and it immediately links into the other fight. Because again, there's like, oh, now that I think about it, this was a very action-packed chapter, because it's just how many fights now? Because then we cut over from that fight to then the Kid versus Big Mom fight, and Kid notices that he's got stab wounds through him, and Killer was just stabbing through, you know, the straw doll or whatever, basically Hawkins, and essentially that's the straw doll that Hawkins made. It's of Kid, and it added even further to, like, Hawkins' vicious nature. Like, I was like, god damn, like, it's already bad enough that you turn coat on these motherfuckers, you're working with the enemy, but then on top of that, you're like, well, I told you just so that I could basically torment and agonize you even more, that essentially you're stabbing your own mans, your captain himself, you're stabbing him. And I'll be honest with you, before we continue any further, I will say this, I am disappointed in one regard. Like, this is great setup and all that jazz, but I feel like it kind of breaks apart something that I wanted to see more of as well, because I wanted to see a lot more of all of these fights. But in particular, like Kid versus Big Mom, I wanted to see Kid strut his stuff. I feel like throughout this arc, Kid has not got his just dues. He's had a moment here or there, but he's also had a lot of moments here or there that looked very poorly on his part, of him just not cutting the mustard, so to speak. So when we see now that the fight between him and Big Mom is getting interrupted, I'm like, god damn, like, even if he would have, let's just say, take the L, because granted, it's Big Mom, you're Kid, there's a big difference, you know what I'm saying? It ain't just the weight on Big Mom's ass, no. But there's a big difference. I wasn't really expecting necessarily for Kid to get the W, but I would have liked to see maybe him get in a few blows, maybe it looking a little bad for Big Mom for a second or two there, and now we're not going to really see any type of fair fight, because he's been stabbed through by Killer thanks to Hawkins' ability to and basically now the only way that Killer can stop Hawkins is to kill his own captain, because he's going to keep using the straw doll of Kid to, you know, block and whatnot. So essentially Hawkins is stuck between a rock and a hard place, and now Kid is also very injured thanks to those stab wounds. wounds while he's fighting Big Mom. Like, it's already a tough fight to fight Big Mom. Like, fighting Big Mom is no easy feat at all. It's one of the hardest fights you're going to have in the One Piece world. But then now you're injured, so both fights is like, it's not going to be a fair fight by any means. And I'm like, against Big Mom, you need everything you can and then some. And then on top of that, to fight Hawkins, like, yeah, I think Killer probably could have catched the W against Hawkins, except now he's playing dirty. So I can't wait to see where things go. And it's very interesting in that manner, like how the hell they're going to overcome these things. But one kid, like, I don't expect much other than him catching an L. I don't see any other way around it unless he uses some sort of ability that is going to basically like sacrifice himself to try and kill Big Mom or something, because yeah, they're both kind of screwed. But we cut to the performance hall because again, now we move to like, I would say probably the final act in between the three parts of the chapter, and King and Queen are essentially murdering any quote unquote traitors of the animal kingdom, basically the people that were put under Tama's, you know, spell, her ability or whatnot. They're basically killing them. You see like one person has been clutching there, and I ain't gonna lie, the art of King and Queen when we cut to that section and you just see them there looking like two absolute beasts and monsters, especially considering like Queen is normally, like for me, I've been laughing at Queen throughout all of Wano. He's been hilarious. He hasn't been somebody that I necessarily take serious. So to see King and Queen turning shit up and looking badass in that panel, that's probably one of the most badass moments that Queen has looked in all of this. Like, he just looked really, really epic. And we see that Marco is down. He's reached his limits, which again, it's showcasing that, yeah, they've taken L's, a lot of L's on their side of things. Like, the whole Tobidopo being down is very integral to, like, you know, part of Kaido's army and shit like that. But we've taken L's too, like we just talked about, you know, with the whole killer and kid situation. And then now on this side of things, Marco being down, who was a huge help to the Allies side. Yeah, that's important. And I ain't gonna lie, for a moment I was ready to rant, because when I saw Sanji down there, for a moment there I was like, Oda, really? Again? I was ready to rant. I was ready to, oh my god, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I need to turn on the camera right now. I'm about to go crazy. Oda, what are you doing to Sanji again? But then when you put it into perspective, like, yeah, if it was 1v1, Sanji was getting some digs in on Queen. Like, and if it was just Sanji versus Queen and Sanji took the L, I would have felt a certain way. But considering now at that point, he was fighting King and Queen. Sanji ain't that, you know what I'm saying, that much of a beast. And I've seen some arguments here as well that I want to point out, right? Because some people were saying that, yo, wasn't Sanji getting dusted off by weaker people from like the Tobidopo with the, you know, with the Germa suit on? How is he now going blow for blow with somebody like Queen? And I'll be honest with you, I think a part of it, you could throw the argument, yeah, it's a little cheesy or whatever, but like, yo, now the whole weight of everything was on for a little bit now Sanji's shoulders. Like, he's holding it down for everybody, so now he's gonna go 10 times harder. And I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, like, yeah, there's some pluses to having the Germa suit on, but I think there's also some negatives to it. I think Sanji basically can do certain things a lot better without the suit. That's just my opinion. I mean, it goes into the whole ideology of like, you know, the armor is for weak people, you wear the armor because you're weak. I think that's going to be the case with Sanji, that, you know, the suit would be because he's necessarily weak, he's hiding behind it. That's just my opinion. And I know it doesn't make much sense in terms of physicality wise, but in theory, that's something that I've seen used time and time again in storytelling of like, the armor is because you're weak, without the armor you'd be a lot stronger. And the medicine at that point still hasn't worked for Zoro. Zoro's still down and out, and they're talking about, well, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I felt Sanji's frustration for a moment when he says, well, shit, if he ain't gonna be able to do nothing, then just drag him to safety or something. Like, I'm doing everything by my damn self at this point. And I gotta give credit to Sanji there, because he's still kicking Queen, giving him a nice swift kick while everything is going on. So again, I think the inclusion of King is what made it at that point that, yeah, Sanji, he can't take on two generals. Like, that's way too much. Sanji, you know what I'm saying, he was just getting his ass kicked earlier in this arc by one of the Tobidopo, going up against King and Queen. It's not happening. And then Peril Sparrow, I ain't gonna lie, Peril Sparrow's bitch ass, oh my god, it was so gratifying what happened to him when he's there aiming at Sanji, talking about, we would have never have to team up with these motherfuckers if it wasn't for you, you failure of the Vent Smoke. I've been dying to see Peril Sparrow get his ass whipped after what he did to Pedro, after everything. It feels like Peril Sparrow has gotten away with it too many times. He can't keep getting away with it. And I think that's what Neko was thinking when he came and bashed his head in, when he was like, no more, you ain't getting away with shit no more, because he's there aiming at Sanji when Sanji's giving it his all, trying to fight King and Queen. Like, if he would have got that arrow off, I would have been pissed, because yeah, it felt like for a moment there Oda was going back straight into the whole thing of, no, Sanji's not getting a moment, Sanji's not gonna, no epicness will be there for Sanji. And I was getting a little pissed, but thankfully again Neko came and kind of saved the day at that point. But it starts to get dire because they spotted Zoro being carried away by some of the people from the animal kingdom. They're, taking him to safety. And King jumps in front and he's like, oh, where you going, fam? It's a wrap for this guy. We ain't gonna let that shit get off. I saw the medicine y'all were trying to pull. And now I think at this point, we're definitely not gonna get any more of Marco, because Marco shows up in front of King and says, yo, I've heard about the tale of, these ancient people that would be on top of the red wall, that they could burst into flames. And he calls him King the Wildfire. So right there, this moment was, well, first of all, it was epic. One of Kaido's generals, King right there, Marco jumping straight in front of him after already being down and at his limit, because King and Queen jump in front of him and they're like, oh, wait a minute, Marco, aren't you, the Whitebeard pirate supposed to be dead? And they look like, they kind of reminded me of the panel where they're both charging up. It reminded me of Saitama and Genos towards the end of One Punch Man season 1, when they were ready, like, they were looking badass. I gotta put the panel on the screen so you guys can know what I'm talking about. Like, that's the moment that I felt. That's what I felt like it looked like for a moment, when they were ready to take off Marco's head. And then Marco kind of, it felt a little bit at the moment like, wait a minute, how am I supposed to feel? Is this like, because he's basically like, yeah, okay, I surrender. Yeah, I've done enough. It's a wrap for me. I ain't doing nothing else after this. I surrender. And he says it's time for the stars to take the stage, which that panel looked really nicely drawn. And Zoro rips out of the fucking bandages that he was in, which I'm wondering, was it because the medicine took effect and finally allowed Zoro to get up at that point? Or was it something that Marco did with his revival flames? Like, I'm guessing that it was just like at that moment, finally, the medicine had enough time to kick in, that Zoro was able to rip out of the bandages, on top of him probably being desperate, like, yo, it's time, like, it's now or never. And Sanji and Zoro have probably one of the most epic moments they've had together in the entirety of One Piece. Like, yo, this is one of the biggest moments them two, Sanji and Zoro, have had all throughout the series, where they both attack King and Queen, Onigiri, Mallet. I was like, yo, this shit looks absolutely epic as hell. Also showcases again, I don't even know when's the last time we've seen Sanji and Zoro on this caliber of a battle together. I'm like, don't get me wrong, a part of me is like, it would have been nice to see Sanji have his solo moment, because how many moments has Zoro had? But at that point, it would basically be me being a petty Blackleg Sanji fan, okay? I'd be petty at that point, like, well, he didn't have his own solo moment, but boy, was it epic as hell. The art, the artistic feel of it all, like, Oda went in. Oda went in with this one. But the ending line definitely was probably one of the most important lines of it all, when Zoro says, once we conquer this battle, and Sanji finishes off his sentence, we'll finally be able to see a glimpse of Luffy being the king of the pirates. Which makes me wonder, is this foreshadowing that this fight is almost over? I mean, we've been going on for a while in Wano, right? Wano has been going on for ages at this particular point. Could this be like setting the stage that maybe by the end of the year we'll be done with Wano? I don't know. I think that even that is too soon. As much as a lot of people say, what do you mean too soon? We're over 1,000 chapters, but I still think that there's going to be a lot more to come from it. And this is going to be Luffy's, round 3, 4 at this point against Kaido. So there's still going to be more to a lot of these battles. But them saying that kind of got me shook. I ain't going to lie. It definitely showcases that something big, once all is said and done here, who knows? Maybe Luffy might be crowned King of the Pirates. Just think about it like this, right? You got Big Mom, Kaido, 2 of the Yonko. There's 4 Yonko, right? There's 2 of the Yonko right there. If Luffy is named, let's just say by Big News Morgan, as, oh shit, he beat Kaido and Big Mom, all of their armies as they were working together, he might be named King of the Pirates after this. We might actually have the new King of the Pirates once all is said and done, because at that point, like, that's a huge feat. Like, somebody, a pirate that already, Big News Morgan was trying to sneak in, calling him the 5th Yonko. If the 5th Yonko, quote unquote, is able to take out 2 Yonko that are working together at once, yeah, he might be named King of the Pirates. Because, don't get me wrong, there's still Shanks, which Shanks has never, at this point, to our knowledge anyway, vied for the title of being King of the Pirates. And then Blackbeard is a whole different ball game altogether, but we might actually get King of the Pirate status by the end of this. He could be King of the Pirates and the manga can still go, because he's still got to get the One Piece and there's still the final war and shit like that. So being King of the Pirates, I don't think is going to be necessarily the end. I could be wrong on that, but he might actually be, even if it's just Big News Morgan screaming it out in a newspaper, he might be named King of the Pirates. Huge shit. Honestly, this chapter, a lot of content. I mean, we've been talking for over 20 minutes as of the raw recording of this video. Curious what you guys think. For starters, what was your favorite of all the battles and everything going on in this chapter? Again, it felt like as the chapter went on, it kept getting better and better. It was like, Raizo fight is okay. Then Kid, Killer, Queen, Big Mom, all of that shit was pretty freaking intense. And then the ending, Sanji and Zoro, baby. The first glimpse of the King of the Pirates is coming! And your overall thoughts and expectations, how you think this is all going to play out? Do you think that Sanji and Zoro are going to be able to take out King and Queen moving forward? You think really Marco is down? I think at this point there's nothing more from Marco. He basically said he surrendered. He surrendered. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the One Piece manga with chapter 10, 23, and beyond. Let's go, baby. I am so freaking hyped. The new King of the Pirates is coming! But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and shout outs to Zoro, Sanji, Marco, the future King of the Pirates, Luffy. Woo! This chapter was intense. Yo, Oda, don't kill off Kid, fam. Don't have killer kill Kid. Whoa, killer kill Kid. Hey, have an awesome one, people.
So just go to